Whatever the spin, whatever the line, however convincing.
Let's get into happy stuff here. Let's
talk music. Yeah.
That is the antidote to our modern living situation.
I know.
It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for asking me. It's great. Really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the one thing that I love about what's going on right now in the world is that I interviewed so many musicians during COVID, and it was so hard. And as optimistic and as wondrous as the jazz community is, you could feel and hear the pain. So right now, being able to talk to musicians about albums and live shows and traveling and living, it's so good. So with that being the context, how did you make it through COVID, and how good does it still feel to you to be able to get out and live and do this life as a musician?
Well, actually, you know what? I was in the States in January 2020. I was doing some things there, and I was actually in Portland when I heard the news about what was happening in China and people falling on the streets and stuff. And the people I was staying with, musicians in Portland, they were like really hip to it and going, man, you've got to get home, And then I was home for like a month and a half, and then we got all locked down. And so it was pretty horrible. I mean, and Melbourne at the time was the most locked down city in the world, apart from in China. And, we basically had 2 years of constant lockdowns. And so, it was really hard. And I remember feeling quite depressed on one hand. On the other hand, it was just like, well, it's a forced time to just actually do stuff that you want to do. Like for me, it was, I didn't want to do music. I wanted to do other things. I do mosaics and I do sort of just things to keep myself busy. But I had to force myself to do music. So like I started a live stream. I did like a Facebook live thing that I did for 30 something weeks in a row. To replace my regular Thursday night gig, which I've had for 17 years. So I kind of did that, and it got to the point where I felt like I hate doing it. I hated doing it so much because it was on my own. I mean, my husband is a drummer, so a few times he would join me on the drums, and he also plays clarinet, and he would play a bit of clarinet. But it kind of just got really horrible. But I kept going because of the lovely. I knew that there were people out there who were actually just really relying on me to do it.
Yeah.
And when I think about that, I think, wow, they were looking forward to sitting on their couch. And this is before I realized that you couldn't watch. I didn't realize that Facebook was actually, I thought you could only sit on your phone.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize. So people were sending me videos of them sitting in their lounge in front of the gigantic screen with me and I was like, oh my God, maybe I better wear some makeup, and I better actually, it's like, but it was the people sending me messages, and that kind of kept me going. And then I started to have a little theme each week and asking for requests, but that really kept me going. But so once everything opened up again, it was amazing. But it seems like a weird nightmare now when we think back on it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So long ago.
Yeah.
It's amazing, like with Emmett Cohen, for instance, he just shot up and became an absolute star because of that idea.
Yeah.
But I think that was the thing about that time period. Every little morsel of what we could do to support, because I had musicians that would tell me, yeah, I listen to all your stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I listen to all the interviews. And sometimes you get stuck in a vacuum, as a creative and just as a person putting things out. You're so in your world of doing what you do, you don't realize sometimes there's other people out there that are affected by what you're doing. And that's the thing. It's that, and I think ironically, as connected as we were during that time period, I think it amplified this idea of human connection, because when I started seeing live shows after that, I mean, there was a part of me that always was grateful as a journalist to go in and see shows, but I took an extra breath whenever I got in. I was like, we're going to feel the energy. We're going to get into it. It's just good. It's the ultimate revival of humanity.
And we felt that like once we were getting out, I mean, the first few gigs I remember we did, and then we would have another lockdown. That was the other thing too. We were constantly in and out. But that thing of like where we had limited numbers of people in the room, like at my regular gig, literally the legal limit was 10 people for the space. So, needless to say, it would sell out real quick, which
Yeah.
is great. Wow, sold out show. But the people who were there, you just felt like this. It was kind of really weird, and I've noticed those people that sort of really supported me during that time as well. Like they stuck with me,
Yeah.
and I've made a lot of close friends, punters, not musicians, because of that time. So in some way it was horrible, but in other ways it did bring out some nice things in people, and like you're saying, an appreciation for what we do, because a lot of people understood, well, they finally clicked that, for creative people and people who make music for a living, we can't do it on our own, and we need people.
Yeah.
And so they finally got an appreciation for that, and of course the fact that that's our income, and we didn't have anything else. So
Yeah.
yeah, there was some positives to it, I'm going to say. But
Yeah.
yeah, and the internet, I mean, imagine if we didn't have the internet.
Oh my God. It reminds me of Back to the Future, that scene where, the retroactive suit played Eruption by Van Halen. He was like, "What is that?" And it's like it's from the future, You can't see us, but you can hear it. But I think the one thing about heading into March, it's always going to throw alarm bells up in me, because that was when this whole thing started. And for you in 2025, you get to promote your new album, The Silent Wish.
Yeah,
You're going to be in San
yeah.
Francisco, March 21st and 22nd, the Black Cat, the 29th at the Jazz Lounge in San Diego, and the 30th at Bar Fedora in LA. So that has to feel good. What is it like to have this album and to have it in fruition and to be able to tour?
Well, it's pretty exciting actually, and it's kind of weird because it's the first time I've ever done an official US release. I
Yeah.
mean, the world, it's all global. None of it matters. But I kind of, because I recorded it in Los Angeles with Larry Coons, who I've been playing with a bit, and he's just so beautiful. I kind of have done it all in America, and it's the first time I've ever done that. Like here in Australia, it's actually my 11th album. Here in Australia, the jazz pond is a tiny pond,
Yeah. Sure.
and I'm not saying I'm a big fish in that tiny pond, but like it doesn't take much before, if you've been doing it as long as I have, people know who you are, then there's only so much you can do. So like if I release an album here, I've been very fortunate in that I've done quite a lot through our national broadcaster, the ABC. So I didn't have to pay anything. They paid for everything. They send it out, it gets reviews. It automatically gets reviews because there's only three or four people doing it
Yeah.
in the whole country. And you have a loyal following. So the idea of going to the States and doing something where no one knows me from a bar of soap, releasing it there, and actually doing it the American way, which is to hire a publicist, hire a radio guy. We don't do that here.
Oh,
I don't know anyone who does that here. I mean,
interesting.
there would be, if you're there. There are some big stars. But they have management, and I don't have management or anything like that. So yeah, it's kind of, I used to have touring managers, but like not to actually manage my gigs. I have to do everything myself. So it was kind of an experiment, that thing of like, well, I'm taking these leaps, I'm going to the States, I'm meeting people, I'm playing little gigs and kind of just meeting some new people, and let's try this thing and have, yeah. So March, it comes out in March. I'm going to come over in the middle of March, or 16th I arrive, and we do these gigs, and I don't know what will happen, but I don't have any big expectations. But it's just like a thing where you kind of go, I could sit here doing what I do and keep doing that, and I will be doing that. But like having these little adventures and these
Yep.
things to plan ahead kind of keeps my juices going, you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How did this journey in the music begin? Take me back to the beginnings. How did music, and more specifically jazz, become your orbit?
Oh, well, I mean, I didn't know anything about jazz till I got to uni, actually. I was a classical violinist. Do you like the way I still,
Oh yeah,
I
you
still
got it. Yeah.
that's about as, that's as good as it's going to sound too, trust me. Um, I don't play anymore. I went to uni to study to be a high school music teacher. That was my dream.
Yeah.
And I was playing in a studio orchestra, and we had a visit from the University of North Texas. 1 o'clock lab band actually came,
Yeah.
And they were kind of artists in residence for a week or so, and we had this big concert, and I was in the string section. And I remember, I don't remember who the chap was, but he's the famous guy who took the 1 o'clock lab band for a long time, and you'd probably know, but I should know.
I know who you're
But
talking about. Yeah.
yeah, because I had the current guy now, I've forgotten his name, who I'd known. He's lovely. He told me the story as well. Um, their director, the UNT director, and our big band studio orchestra director, they were kind of like, we were practicing for the big concert, and they were kind of doing that little jokey thing about string players, like, oh, string players can't swing, And I was thinking, oh, what swing? I don't even know what swing was. I was just thinking, well, I'm just playing it. Yeah, this is cool. I'd never even thought of a distinction.
Yeah.
Like, it was just music to me. And so I just started hearing more jazz at uni, and then I was in a jazz choir, and I guess that's how I started singing. And then I kind of just moved into singing jazz, and it kind of started. So it started really late. Probably about 19, really, to be honest, before I even knew it, heard and realized what jazz was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So was it Steve Weist?
maybe.
Jay
It,
Saunders
so
took it
this
over
would
in
have been 1986
Oh,
or 87.
oh,
A long time ago. I'm showing my age, but
yeah.
yeah, 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 it was a
Okay.
long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of kind of, yeah, anyway, we could get into a rabbit hole on that. So,
Apparently, there's an album actually. Apparently, the University of North Texas Down Under. Apparently, it's called.
oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and I would be on that. I would be playing second violin.
That's awesome. We'll have to track that down. That
Yeah,
now
yeah.
that's an adventure now, a music adventure. So, let me ask you this. What was the first live jazz show that you really went on your own and saw that once you got the jazz bug that made you think, I want to do that one day. I want to be on that stage.
Probably. There's a few, but there would have been all local musicians in Adelaide, the city where I went to university. I remember having discussions with my mates who were like, I had a drummer mate who was also doing the same degree as me, and I said, "What did you do last night?" He said, "Oh, I went to see Miles Davis," and I said, "Wow, I think I've heard of him." I'd never even, And Miles Davis played, just around the corner. Sarah Vaughan played just, and I didn't know who these people were.
Yeah.
So I saw the local people, my teachers, and it wasn't probably until I went to my first festival performing again with the jazz choir that I remember seeing McCoy Tyner. He played at a jazz festival that we were singing at, and going, oh my God, and starting to realize that these are heavy, heavy dudes. But yeah, and I guess the first sort of big jazz vocalist that I saw was Mark Murphy. He came to Adelaide, the little city I grew up in, and I had a lesson with him and saw him, and I was just like, oh my God, this is, I mean, Mark is like up
Yeah.
there for me.
Yeah.
And so he was probably the first one that up close, and that I got to speak to, and because it was a tiny little town, and he never got to travel with his band, he always had to pick up musicians, and you know,
Yeah.
and it used to break my heart. Like, and Sheila Jordan as well. Like, I got to know Sheila because she'd come to, and she'd always be playing with pickup musicians, and sometimes, sometimes it was hard for her.
Yeah.
She,
Yeah.
she would tell me, she would tell me some things, but I wouldn't share. But like, yeah, it's hard, and I would be like, oh my God, but this is Sheila Jordan, this is Mark Murphy. Why can't they at least bring a piano player, or because
Yeah.
they're like mega famous, and it's
Absolutely.
just the logistics and the reality of you know
Yeah.
the money that just doesn't exist
Yeah.
unless. And then the very first big sort of departure from that for me that I noticed was when Kurt Elling first came to Australia,
Yeah.
and he had his own band, and he was already a jazz star, so he was with Blue. I mean, I know Kurt, we're friends, um so but that was like a real, I was like, wow, how's this guy do that, whereas Mark Murphy, who is the original, could never do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess they're the yeah. And then when going to the States, of course, I've seen some of my big heroes as well. But yeah,
So
it's
I
a
got to
long way
know.
away.
Yeah, the one thing about being a musician is that it launches thousands of dreams in your head of things that you want to do. And one of them is to get on stages, certain stages. What was the dream stage that you wanted to play on and you finally did and you were like, "Oh my God, it's happening." You ever have that moment?
Well, yeah, I guess the Sydney Opera House,
Okay.
yeah, like with Wynton Marsalis and the Jazz at the Lincoln Center Orchestra. That was pretty amazing. And I never ever imagined I would even meet Wynton, let alone be a soloist
Yeah.
with his band standing right next to him.
Yeah.
That was pretty mind blowing actually. But I mean, that was just kind of like a bit of I mean, a one off thing. But in terms of doing my own gigs, I guess playing the North Sea Jazz Festival was pretty cool. But we played in one of the little back rooms.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's all right. We got to hang out in the breakfast room with McCoy Tyner was there, and Jimmy Cobb, and there was I got to meet Mulgrew Miller, who I'd idolized and transcribed and had some correspondence with through a song I'd written lyrics to, and so but yeah, I think it's I don't know. I find that sort of a hard question to answer because like they're kind of all nice gigs, really.
But
Yeah,
yeah, but you answered it though, because especially being from Australia, that's the premier place. I mean, if there's an iconic image of a playing hall that exists in Australia, we've all seen. It's a beautiful place, right there on the water.
exactly.
It's elegant. It's like, we have that in Kansas City with the Kaufman Theater. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and the acoustics are perfect. It's like that's the thing about a place like that. It's like it's not only
Mm,
the parlance of having this big, huge place, the acoustics, the crowd, there's an energy, there's a different feeling to it. And that's what I'm
yeah,
going for. You answered it perfectly. I'm looking
yeah.
for kind of the Carnegie Hall of the world, so to speak.
Well, I mean, it's our equivalent of Carnegie Hall,
That's what I'm
absolutely. I
saying.
mean, yeah. I mean, in
Yeah.
Sydney, Opera House is iconic. The Melbourne, the big concert theatre here is. I've been very fortunate as well to sing at with Kurt Elling and the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra and with the Lincoln Center Orchestra as well. But I guess when we went to Sydney, that was like because I'd never done it. I'd never even imagined I would ever be on that stage
Yeah.
ever. So
Yeah.
that was kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of cool. Yeah.
Being an artist and being alive on the planet long enough, you get to realize things about yourself. What have you learned from being a professional musician for all these years that may have been unexpected that you've learned about yourself and realized?
Well, I kind of realize, apart from all the things that, as you get older, you give less of a shit of what people think. I mean,
Sure.
I really don't care that much anymore what people think. I know why I'm doing it. I also have realized over the years that you're not going to be in this gig for money.
I get
I
it.
mean, it's like I've got a roof over my head. Don't get me wrong. And that's mostly because I teach.
Yep.
It's certainly not from gigs, but that's still the actual process of doing gigs and making music and playing with other people that I love to be around. That's that's such a luxury.
Hmm.
Most people don't have that. Most people's jobs. I'm not going to say they hate their jobs, but like, man, this is a pretty cool way, and it's very precarious. And every year, you don't know how much you're going to make, or if you're going to struggle, or you know. But like over all these years, I've kind of just settled into that and gone, yeah, that's cool. We're doing great. Like we're so lucky.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very lucky too. We live in Australia, and we have a nice life, and but I guess I've settled into that. Don't give a shit what other people think so much. And I've also realized too that as I get older and, you know, being a teacher for a long time too, I'm constantly, trying to help other people realize their dreams, and how much energy that takes as a teacher, like giving out enthusiasm all the time.
Yeah.
When most of the time I struggle finding it myself, like, why am I doing this? You know, why am I doing it? Well, because firstly, I don't know how to do anything else. And I love it. I can't live without it.
Yeah.
And my actual personality as a person, if you didn't know me, that this was my job, you would probably, I'm pretty quiet and pretty much a hermit. I would be happily sitting out in my mosaic shed all day, just smashing tiles and making dumb flower shit. But and often I dread gigs. Often I'm kind of like, I really don't want to do this, but when I'm there, I'm on. So I realize now that my personality, I've kind of accepted it. Whereas for a long time, when I was younger, I used to sort of like struggle with that and pretend to be loving it all the time. But now I guess because I also, the people they know you well enough to know that that's cool. It's just part of who you are as a person.
Yeah.
You can't be on all the time,
Sure.
So
Sure. I hear that from a lot of late night talk show hosts that do that all the time. You always have to be on. Everything is go, 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 go. You always have to be kind of the leader, and you have to take care, and you have to be funny. And it's like after a while it gets hard. Entertainment's not, it's not what it's cracked up to be.
no, and we are, that's part of my job is to, like, if people have paid money to come and see me play, or I'm in a band and I'm up the front, they've paid money. So the last thing they want is, for me to just sort of treat them like they don't matter. They
Right.
actually do matter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm really interested in the music. The music is the most important thing to me, and like, but I'm not the sort of person who could, even if I'm having the worst day, I'm hoping nobody knows that.
Yeah.
I don't want ever to let that on. And even those gigs where you think, look, no one gives a shit, like people aren't even listening or whatever. There's always somebody who's listening, and you're always making some sort of difference. So, I mean, yeah, I've learned that over the years too. Just,
Yeah.
if you've got to, yeah, it's a respect thing for the audience. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, Michelle. Family, friends, fans, everyone that you know, students, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh my God. Honestly, I don't know. I think I'm pretty. I think I'm pretty complex. Actually, I used to think I was pretty simple. No, I think I'm somebody who, I I want to I want to do right by people, but I've also I've got to look after myself too. So if I'm not enjoying something, I'm not actually helping anybody, really. I mean, and also as I've gotten older, I'm only doing music that I really love to do. I'm in an unfortunate position that I don't have to do gigs where, I'm doing gigs that I want to do and playing with people I want to play with. And I think if you're really into it yourself, that translates to an audience and then they get it. And they can't always love it or like it. But I think if I feel it myself and I'm with the people that I'm playing with, that's enough. So I think I'm just sort of kind of pretty positive, but you know what? I'm a realist, Joe.
I dig it. I get it.
I'm a realist. My husband would say I'm an absolute pessimist and I'm a glass half empty type of girl, but I don't know. It fluctuates. Sometimes I feel like the world's great, and other times I think it's crap, and why am I doing this? And so it's a constant like shifting of that. Am I into it today or am I not into it? I think I know a lot of creative people are like that.
The political answer is you're a pessimistic optimist,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
the new album, The Silent Wish, is coming out. You got gigs in California. Where to ever, if anybody wants an album or if they want to see you live, any of the good business, anything else, where do they go?
Well, Bandcamp.
Okay,
Bandcamp is,
good.
on my website. We've just done a pre-order on the Bandcamp thing. I'm gonna, yeah, but I've never been to San Francisco, so I'm really excited to play
Cool.
there.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 nights there, and I don't know anyone. So anyone in San Francisco, please come see us because I don't know anyone in San Francisco.
That's
Um,
that's the home of my favorite jazz station, KCSM. You should reach out to them.
okay, well, hopefully my radio guy's doing that.
Yeah, do it. They're so good. They're really good.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been there many times. I love San Francisco, but I've never played a gig there, so I'm really excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, hey, it's been so great to connect with you. Thank you so much for your time. Best of luck on the trip and the album. It's been delightful.
Thank you, Joe. It's really lovely to meet you, and yeah, thank you for having any interest in some little Aussie chick singer.
Oh,
You
no,
know.
I love it.